What's up everybody, and welcome to Shadow Wolf Gaming, where today we have a special video for you from my adventures during PAX West last month. For those of you that don't know what PAX West is, it is a indie gaming convention where, much like E3, we get to take a look at the newest and latest games coming out, but this time it's focused around indie developers. So if you enjoy games like Enter the Gungeon by Devolver Digital, or Ubisoft to see what new games are coming up from them, or Square Enix with Final Fantasy, I know that's not indie, but like, there's also games like Crypt of the Necro Dancer. Those developers were there too. In this video, I got to do an interview with Ironwood Studios and talk about the new game, Pacific Drive. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation I had with one of the devs on the team. So thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this type of video, make sure to like, favorite, and subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get notified whenever I post new videos on up.
We are rolling. This is the first time I'm using this thing now. So Pacific Drive, what is the base premise of the game?
So Pacific Drive is a run-based driving survival game. You're going to have a lot of roguelite elements, but there are also ImSim elements. And primarily what you're doing is taking care of an old 80s station wagon out in a hostile environment known as the Olympic Exclusion Zone.
Okay. How did this come to be? Like, what is the main setting of this? So, Pacific.
Yes, it's an alternate history take on an area called the Olympic Peninsula. It's very close to where we are right now. It's actually like a short ferry ride away. But our creative director was out in his old station wagon, driving in the rain, stopped and went, oh man, this is a vibe. And then from there, we developed the game.
How does the car building mechanics differ from other car games?
So you're gonna have a couple different ways that other games approach building a car. You have menus, you have selectable stuff, you have extra parts that you sort of fiddle with the math on, stuff like Gran Turismo, Forza, racing type stuff. And then you have games that are like extremely simulator focused. You have this idea that you need to build everything nuts and bolts from the ground up. In that spectrum of building a car, we fall somewhere in the middle. We're really trying to sell you guys on the fantasy of building a car, but not so much that you need to check torque specs and make sure you have all your bolts in the right places. We want you to be able to feel like you can take a wheel off, put a new wheel on, and then you're done.
So in a way, a little bit more like the in between of Mad Max to Twisted Metal.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, Twisted Metal, most of their like upgrades and stuff are stats based or visual. And then with Mad Max, it was, like I said before, it's menu based and you attach different pieces. In Pacific Drive, you actually carry your parts to the car, pull them on and off by hand. You're not doing anything in terms of selecting or I guess buffing via menu.
Okay. In terms of the controller support.
Yes.
So, is it going to be your standard triggers to drive, but then you have like the bumpers to handle like all your weaponry and stuff, or?
So we have a controller map over here if you wanted to take a shot of it later. That way you could go through and fill this in. But our standard controller layout is we have abilities tied to our face buttons when you're behind the wheel of the car. And then when you're on foot, that responds to like stuff like crouch, jump. And then, if you get the car in a tricky spot, you can move it to another one. While you're behind the wheel, the left trigger for brake, right trigger for gas. And then we also have those extra abilities that I mentioned. So your equipment, the things that you attach to the car.
All right. So for the more ambitious gamers who have like the full-on steering wheel setup, how is that going to work with this?
So we've actually heard a lot about wheel support, and the racing sim community is very, very into what we're doing because it's narrative-based, but it's also it's first-person POV behind the wheel. Like they love it. The thing is, we're a very small team. Like we might not seem like it, but we have a priority list that we need to go down with features, and we are heavily researching wheel support. We are heavily researching pedal support. But once we have something definitive to say about it, we'll update everybody.
Okay. So in that case, with the dev team, what engine are you running in on?
So we're running on Unreal 4.
Oh, okay. Cool. So what's been the hardest part of development hell then with all of this?
Oh man, I mean, making games, I forget who said it, but there's a great quote of making games is like building a camera and then shooting the movie at the same time.
Okay. And then what's the key mechanic that we should like watch out for while we're out in the Olympic zone?
Like key mechanic, what do you mean?
So like in the trailers we've seen like how if you're stuck out at a certain time, this is going to happen, like a storm or something like that.
So the instability events that you're seeing is what you're describing. The mechanic there is essentially don't get caught in the storm. You want to make sure that you grab enough resources in every run to create an exit and get out of there before the zone storm goes through and changes the map or destroys you or the car. Every time that you create an exit, that zone storm is going to spawn anyway. It's the zone responding to the player in the car, and it wants you out.
Okay, so is it more of like a limited time per run, or do you have like, what would the parameters be of that? Because like, me as like a scrapper runner, I love just like collect everything that's not nailed down to the ground.
Sure, I mean, so things are going to get more sketchy the longer that you're in a map, but if you've planned a route that has multiple stops in multiple areas, you're going to be picking up anchors and you're going to be storing up the energy there, so you should be fine with spawning an exit. It's very, very, like, it's a more technical question than I'm prepared to answer. The thing with this storm is that you have to spawn an exit to get back to the garage.
Okay.
Yes, that is the key thing that you have to
spawn the exit.
Yes, so if you'll watch the gameplay, watch the demo, you are going around collecting these anchors, these orbs. They have these pillars of yellow light, and what they're going to do is they're going to go into the passenger seat of the car. They're going to get taken by the car and used for energy to open the exit.
Okay. And then I guess the last thing is on handling the car on a scale of like Need for Speed versus Euro Truck Simulator. What are we sitting at?
So you're talking about like
how does it
related driving?
Yeah, how does it handle? Is it more like if I start gaining speed and I accidentally like turn, am I going to start spinning out? Or
absolutely, yeah. So road surface is very important. We have gravel, concrete, mud. You know, the ground is going to get wetter in the rain. It's going to dry up in direct sunlight, that kind of thing. But what you're talking about in terms of the spectrum, very similar to how we want people to feel like mechanics. We don't want them to have to keep track of every granular detail. We're a little bit more forgiving with our driving physics and our mechanics there, in that you do have to pay attention to traction, your parts, your tires, the road surface, weather conditions, that kind of thing. But, you know, if you're driving on a flat tire, you're driving on a flat tire.
All right. Cool. Well, thank you so much. What was your name again, then?
I am Blake. Yes.
Nice to meet you.
And one more huge shout out and thank you to Blake for taking the time out of his day to conduct this interview with me right there on the exhibition floor. Huge shout out to you, Blake. Thank you again for helping out with this video. If you enjoyed this video and you want to check the game out for yourself, please do make sure to check it out at pacificdrivegame.com.